Hey friends, it's RSKT, and in today's video we're going to be taking a look at another third-party module that I've got for my AE Modular system, and that is Le Module. You might also notice that there's another third-party module in here from Kea, the same maker as the Euclid grid. That's the 2Auto module, but we're not going to be taking a look at that today. I just got it in the mail and couldn't resist throwing it into my case before I filmed all of this segment. So yeah, my case is rearranged a little bit to accommodate. As usual, we'll be taking a deep dive into this module and some of its features and use cases. And then the rest of the video will be filled up with various patches that I've made using the module. And this time around, I'm probably going to be including quite a few patches because I just cannot get enough of this module. It's super fun and it just has offered like a completely different sound palette to this system than what I'm used to. So yeah, you might notice that some of those demo videos, the case is rearranged a little bit because I didn't have the 2Auto in there. But aside from that, everything will be using Le Module. So what is Le Module? Well, given the fact that it's third party, I reached out to its creator, Gregory, and he was really helpful and helped me to understand that essentially this is a digital chord type VCO that is designed to generate complex waveforms with lots and lots of harmonics. So in a nutshell, it's essentially a module for creating chords, which is really, really great because I'm sure anybody who's used Modular before knows that it can be really, really hard to get any sort of polyphony in a modular system unless you're pairing up multiple VCOs. And this one just sort of lets you do it right out of the gate. So let's plug it in and have a listen. I'm just going to take my mixer output and plug it into my audio output that's running into the Deluge and then going through to the Zoia. But for now, there's no external effects processing. Next up, we'll take the output of Le Module, which I might also point out that there are actually two outputs here. We'll plug it in and let's turn it up and have a listen. Cool, so we can hear a chord ringing out. If we turn the frequency knob, obviously it's going to change the frequency of our oscillator. Directly underneath the frequency knob, we have this table knob. And essentially what that's doing is selecting a different wave table that it's got stored in its memory. So if we turn this back up, you can hear that it's selecting different wave tables. And we can also hear that it's adding on extra harmonics as it goes through. Now, if we twist it the other way, it almost brings us back to where we started. It's like being able to do a little bit of a chord flourish within a single module, which is really, really cool. Then finally, underneath this, we have a wave setting, which Gregory described as being able to select the waves in the table and then mix them. So going to the right end of the pot, you're going to get a single frequency, but all the others are just going to sort of mix whatever harmonics are in the table. So let's have a listen. There's our single harmonic. So if we scroll through the table now, it can be really cool to turn both of these knobs together. Now, given that this is the first run of this module, there are a couple of quirks just to keep in mind, but I am in no way saying that this is like a reason not to consider buying this thing, because I think it's an absolute must, especially if you like a lot of really cool ambient stuff. But yeah, down the bottom here, for example, we have bus gate and bus CV. Those are mislabeled, so they're actually inverted. The bus CV is the second last one, and then bus gate is the last one. So obviously it's really useful to have on there. For example, I'll just take the bus CV, which again is labeled bus gate, and we'll plug this into frequency, turn this up, and then over on let's pick a nicer sound. Maybe we even just go to single wave, something like that. Over on the deluge here, I'm just going to create a new MIDI track and playing up and down the deluge's keyboard. Yeah, it's really, really handy that that control is in there. So for this next example, I'm just going to take the output here and plug this into our VCA. Obviously, we want to trigger the VCA with an envelope. And then my mess of cables here, we're going to trigger that envelope with the blue pattern on the Euclid grid up here. Great. And then, yeah, we'll take the VCA output and just whack it in to our mixer. Great, so we have this pattern going. Next up, I'm just going to take the yellow pattern from our Euclid grid here and use it to clock this pitch sequencer. And then we'll take the CV output of that and plug it into the frequency. So the reason I'm setting this up right now is to just demonstrate one other quirk that is apparent with this first run of modules. And again, in no way saying that as like a deterrent as not to buy the module, because I really do think it's worth it. But just have a listen. You might almost hear like a delayed signal or like a little bit of a stutter. And that's essentially if you have your attack all the way down so that the note is hitting instantly, you might notice that there is a slight delay in the time it takes for the module to pick up a change in pitch frequency. So yeah, we're hearing that sort of stutter right there. Now, I don't really mind it all that much. I think that, again, adds like a little bit more character to it. But if you just want to get around that, you can just turn up the attack ever so slightly. And there you go. Now that problem is gone. And so, yeah, that is essentially the module in a nutshell. Obviously, there's a lot that you can do with it by plugging in different CV sources into the table and wave section and whatnot. I didn't point out either, it's also got like a row of mults, like a lot of these other modules. But something I wanted to demonstrate just before sort of going over some different use cases of what you can do is the way that I've been making chords in this system without the module. I pointed this out on the AE Modular Discord, and somebody asked me how I did it. And although it's sort of pretty self-explanatory, I figured that it might be worth sharing. So I'm just going to take the triangle output of our first oscillator here, and I'm going to plug it into the B section of my mixer down here. Next up, I'm going to take, maybe we'll take the square wave output of the second oscillator and plug it into B2. And then finally, I'll take something different, the triangle output, and plug this into B3. So now we've got three oscillators being mixed together. And then if we want to hear that signal, I'm just going to take the B out section, plug this into our VCA, And just to sort of keep things nice and simple, we'll just swap that envelope over to this one. Let's also swap the output over here. And we'll run the Euclid grid. This is probably going to sound horrible, just so you know, because I haven't tuned any of these oscillators, but... Great. So yeah, the idea is that I would usually like unplug two of these, find the pitch that I wanted for the first one, plug in the second oscillator. Great. And then plug in the third one. Obviously a triangle wave is pretty quiet, so maybe we'll just make it another sawtooth. Great. Terrible sound, and obviously you would want to filter this. But yeah, we can get nice chords using this method. Obviously, there's not a whole lot that you can do with these chords because I don't have like any sort of wave shaper or any other way of messing with the harmonics aside from running it into a filter. But yeah, that's kind of how I've been doing chords in the past. It is a lot longer and it is a lot more convoluted, and it does not offer as much creative control. So that is why I'm really loving Le Module so much. Let's just unplug these and we'll switch our sources back over here. So we should just be hearing Le Module. Great. So what's something else that we can do with this? Well, obviously we want to be able to twist some of these knobs, and something that I've really been enjoying doing, and you'll see this in one of the demos, is taking the sample and hold. So let's put a noise source into the sample and hold. And instead of using the sequencer to trigger this, I've been taking the end output of the envelope and using that to trigger the sample and hold. So now when we hit play, now we've unfortunately got to have our decay pretty low just to get that happening. But either way, yeah, we can see that our sample and hold is now changing. Now, obviously that's going to be a lot. We want to attenuate that signal. So let's take this input here, take our sample and hold, attenuate it. Now we can just make that signal a little bit less. And I'm going to take that attenuator and let's plug it into table. But yeah, maybe we'll try wave. So now we can hear that the chord is slightly changing over time. We can turn the strength up a little bit. Let's maybe make this pattern a little bit more interesting. And if you find that the end output isn't doing it for the sample and hold, we can just take that and use the output of our sequencer. Great. So let's unplug that from our mixer. We'll route this to something like the low pass of the wasp filter. Let's take the output of that and let's whack it into the delay. And then let's take our delay out and we'll whack it into our mixer. Cool. Let's take the second output of our sample and hold down here. We'll plug it into the CV input of our wasp filter. Awesome. Next up, I'm just going to create some simple bass going into the low pass of our SV filter. Take the output of that and plug that into our second envelope. Sorry, our second VCA. We'll trigger our second VCA with our second envelope. And then we'll use our purple pattern on the Euclid grid to trigger that envelope. And finally, we'll take the output of our envelope and plug it into the input of our mixer. Let's change that a little bit. Great. And then, yeah, pretty much over on the deluge, we'll probably create a kit track, and let's just do very basic 4 to the floor. And then we'll just apply some side shading to our AE Modular. Let's even throw on a little bit of reverb. And yes, of course, stupidly, I forgot to set up my clock divider so that this is all synced with the deluge. There we go. And then, yeah, let's just use the Zoia to mix this slightly by adding in some compression. And yeah, I mean, like, quick little jam, perfect house track. I mean, this thing is perfect for putting together house music. But yeah, I mean, that's probably a little bit exaggerated as of a sound than what I would go for. But yeah, I think that's really neat. Yeah, I mean, sorry. This is what I mean. This is why there's so many jams at the end of this video. I'm just having so much fun with this module because it just really, it's so easy and fast to bring things to life by making these like really basic chord progressions or just randomizing the sort of chords that you can get out of it using like a sample and hold and attenuator. I would really love to get a quantizer into the mix here and just sort of see what I could do with that, and you know, maybe a second pitch sequencer or something like that. But you know, I mean, that's further down the track. At the moment, I'm really happy with the way that my system has been coming together. I definitely do need an extra pair of envelopes. I have 2 more modules on their way to me in the mail at the moment, which are both third-party modules, and I'm really excited to be able to share that with you all. And of course, you can expect to see a video coming out about the 2 Auto up here from Kea. But yeah, I mean, this thing's filling up fast, and every time I plug it in, I wind up making something different or something that I just didn't sort of set out to do. It's sort of like oh, that's really cool. I wonder if I could do that. And next thing I know, I've fallen down this massive rabbit hole and I'm making a completely different style of music than I'm used to making. Anyways, given the fact that there isn't really a whole lot more to this module, I hope that I've done it justice in some way by demonstrating it to you all today. And I hope that I've done it justice by creating several different patches that are about to play. As for availability, this thing isn't currently being sold worldwide yet. I just sort of happened to fall into a very lucky situation where I could get my hands on it. However, Gregory still does have about 4 modules left, and then he's setting out to create another batch over the next few months and then hopefully look into worldwide shipping then. So hopefully they'll be like a lot more readily available for everybody to use. Yeah. From really cool house music to really slow, drawn-out ambient stuff. I can always see this having a place in my rack. It's just too useful of a module to leave out. I mean, I'm pretty sure you could say that about all the other modules, but yeah, really digging this thing so far. If you have any questions or thoughts, please leave them down in the comments below. Hit the like if you like, and if you don't, tell me why. Please subscribe. Check me out on Patreon, and thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.